Broad Street Review podcast is an extension of Broad Street Review, Philly's home for arts, culture, and conversation, an online arts and culture journal covering the greater Philadelphia area. I'm your host, Darnell Radford.
Today on the podcast, Taysha Marie Canales stops by to talk about the Wilma Theater co-production with Woolly Mammoth Theater Company, The COMEUPPANCE by BRANDEN Jacobs-Jenkins, extended on stage through December 14th. Here is my interview with Taysha Marie Canales for The COMEUPPANCE. And welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Darnell Radford, and today I'm in the virtual studio to talk about the Wilma Theater production of The COMEUPPANCE by BRANDEN Jacobs-Jenkins, directed by Morgan Green. It is currently on stage through December 8th after its successful run at the co-producing venue Woolly Mammoth Theater in D.C. And I'm here with Taysha Marie Canales, who has a wonderful character journey in this piece. And we are going to unpack that. So, Taysha, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Darnell.
I was thinking about, first of all, I love you. And Akeem, you guys are just so much. I love to see you on stage and just the energy that you bring, the passion, commitment that you bring to these performances. It's always so much fun. And I can't believe that I haven't had an actual sit-down conversation with you yet.
I know.
There have just been many chats in the lobby, many shares of accolades, but I'm so glad we had this opportunity to chat.
Yeah, agreed.
So since you're new to our podcast, tell everyone about Taysha. Just give us a life update. What's currently going on in your world?
Okay, well, right now I have a 10-month-old son.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, so that's very new. And I'm completely sleep deprived, but enjoying the experience. And we get to celebrate our first holiday with him, which is super, super exciting. So that's the latest over here. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how have you been able to manage raising a child as two successfully working actors?
Yeah, we're taking it day by day for sure. Yeah. And so far it's been working out. Actually, Akeem and I, we were both cast in 2 shows at the Pennsylvania Shakespeare Festival this year, which was my first show back postpartum. And that went really well. And we were able, Amias was with us, and we had friends and family help out. The theater community has been really supportive of our journey and what we need. And I've learned a lot from other working mothers in the community about what to ask for, what to anticipate, anticipating my needs and taking care of myself. And so that's been so great to have the community supporting us in that way. And so we both are doing our separate shows. We have a show coming up that we'll be in together again at the Arden in February, which is exciting. But it literally is just taking it day by day and making it all work, which it can and it has and it will.
Yeah, I love we're starting to see more support for family development in job spaces too. Didn't I see that Wilma has childcare options?
Yes, that's for one performance of the COMEUPPANCE. I think it might be this Saturday upcoming. But that is a first. We've never offered that before. And I also believe PTC offered it as well for the show that just closed, or Lena Ortiz's show that just closed. That's something that's really new and exciting to offer that to parents who want to come enjoy the experience and have somewhere where their kids can be productive and be artistic while they experience the shows. So,
that's great. As another effort to get more people into the theater and part of the conversation.
That's right.
It is just first of all, I'm so happy that as a couple you're making it work, raising a child, getting support from the community, friends and family, because I think there are so many people at various levels in their theatrical career that are thinking like, I don't know, is this the right time to buy a house? Is this the right time to have a child? And with there's uncertainty, there's inflexibility in job opportunities and so on. And it's just so great to know that everybody knows that you're out here trying to do this. And all of this is ultimately for the betterment of your family and your child.
That's right.
Yes.
And just making room and space for life too, because there's always going to be that uncertainty. I don't think there's ever going to be a quote unquote right moment, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're waiting for that moment to come, like when will it show up, right? And
exactly.
So just make it happen, and it will work out. That's what that's at least what's working out for us.
And don't fear being a bad parent. Like everyone's a first-time parent the first time,
Yep.
Yeah, so we have to...
Eye-opening on the other side.
Yes, but we have to do more to celebrate and encourage that too. I feel like it's so hard to think about it when you have all these other obligations before you bring a child into the world. But like bringing a child into the world's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
and so we want to be pro family building.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah. So the comeuppance. My first thought was, I've only used that word in jokes. Like, I feel like I've heard it, like, I'll give you your comeuppance, something like that. But like, so I wanted to ask you, had you ever used that word?
I have never. I have not. I have not. And how would you define it? Like when you use it in a joke? Yeah.
Well, so the way I had heard it was like, I'm going to give you your credits or your acknowledgements. I've often seen it. I've often seen it in a space where it's like, we're taking stock, kind of. So, and I never bothered to look and see what the exact definition was. But then, so I was thinking about that all through the piece. And I was like, I know it also feels like a reckoning.
Yes.
A comeuppance.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So
I can't remember the German word that Emilio uses, but it's the shitstorm. It's the shitstorm.
Oh, yeah. I know. I feel like Schadenfreude is always is a notable word because of Avenue Q. In the musical, they talk. There's a whole song called Schadenfreude.
Right on. I've never seen it. I know. Is that
I can't say I haven't seen it live. I've definitely mainlined soundtracks. I had definitely had the music before I'd seen it live. So it's funny, like you just feel like you know it. Because the songs are so iconic. Okay, so the comeuppance. What were your first impressions of this piece when you read it? And when was the first time you read it?
Yeah, the first time was in a hot house session last year. So I'm one of the founding members of the Hot House Acting Company, which is the resident acting company at the Wilma. And so when the artistic directors are considering plays for season selection, oftentimes they'll bring in scripts for Hot House to read so that we can also voice our opinions and thoughts about the particular work. And so Morgan Green, the director, is the one who brought the piece to us. And I was instantly hooked. I thought it was so funny. At the time, I couldn't quite understand what was happening with the death character in those moments. I think it could be a little difficult to see that on the page rather than seeing it on the stage. But oh my God, and as a millennial, I just thought that the play, it spoke to me specifically. Also, because it addresses COVID and the pandemic, I'd never I haven't yet come across another play that talks about it so specifically. So I was struck by that as well. And then in Hot House, we do what's called a round robin reading. And so every few pages, we have assigned actors to read specific roles. And then after a few pages, another set of actors will read those same roles. And so I came up, it ended up that I was reading for Christina during one of her very big outlandish monologues. And I was just like, oh man, I get her. I just know who she is. Like, there are people in my life that I can think of who I'm like, oh, yeah, like there's so many qualities that she has that I can pinpoint to people that I know, and to myself, to some regard as well. And so, yeah, I was super excited after that read and was so happy to hear that the Wilma added it to their season.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, she does have that meaty monologue, and it's so clear that, you know, Katrina is your character, and she's
Christina.
Christina holding it together, you know, on the outside has it all organized, but inside, you know, much like many people who have it all together give the appearance, you know, or inside it's bouncing all over the place. It's kind of like if you are trying to make sense of your space and clean up your room. And so you jam everything into a box.
Yes.
And so everything looks clean, but that box is going to explode. Don't touch that box. Don't even look at it. The lid will pop off. It'll be a whole mess.
That's so good. That's absolutely right.
Yeah. So yeah, Christina. When Christina arrives, you know, at the pregame for the reunion, it's just like everything's already alive, but it's even more alive as she arrives. And I was just like, okay, she's the one to follow.
She's so funny, determined to have a good time. Like, this has to happen, you know, until, you know, things unravel.
So tell me how the cast is connected to Katrina.
Christina.
Like, I'm sorry. Why do I keep saying that? Oh, I have it written wrong. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Christina, please tell me how the characters are connected to Christina.
Yeah. So we're all in or in high school. We were all in the same honors classes, and so we kind of like clicked and formed a group that we call Merge. Right. And so, but then there's an additional character. Is it okay if I talk about the additional? Are there spoilers in this?
So.
Okay.
I think so.
So there's...
it's the journey we're going on, everyone.
Yeah. So we're all like, we're really close friends in high school. Caitlin is someone that I still, every now and then will get together with and you know, catch up and whatnot, because we still live in the same town. Emilio lives in Europe now, so this is the first time that we're getting to see him since my wedding, which was 15 years ago from this pregame, this reunion. And then Simon as well is someone who doesn't live in the town anymore and is traveling all over. But Simon is the one who kind of gets the gang all together during the pandemic with these Zoom happy hours. Yeah. And so that's how we kind of reconnected with everyone. But then Simon was also the one who kind of like organized the pregame for this reunion. And Simon never shows up. Simon cancels last minute. But then there's my cousin, Paco, or Francisco, who has just come back home after being gone for years. Some years he was living in California. And I decided to invite him along and surprise the Merge group. And they haven't seen him in years either. And we've all like had moments in high school where we were all hanging out, but Paco definitely was not officially in Merge, and there's some contention with Emilio there because I brought him to the Merge reunion. So yeah. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I got a chance to just talk to everyone in the lobby after opening night, just to say like what a great production. We were hanging on every word. We were so engaged. And Jordan sorry.
Bello? Bello?
Yes, Jordan Bello, who plays Emilio. We were talking in the lobby, and he said something to the effect that his friends saw the show and they said, I wanted to hate one of these characters and I couldn't.
Yeah. Huh.
And that stuck with me because I feel like it's a reunion. And so as an audience, we're learning so much about them. And so we understand how they got here. And I feel like because we know that, we side with them individually. We're just like, I understand your struggle, whether I agree with it. But because I understand that, I'm seeing you as a full character.
That's great.
And not just like, yeah, this is so vague. Like
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting about the writing. It just made us love every character in their moments.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
That's what's so beautiful about the play is that it's so easy. It's so easy to place judgment or to hold on to like those past memories, or those past traumas and hurt. And I think that's what Brandon is asking us to do, like especially with that, like that death character has that final monologue at the end. We were all so nicer during that one time where we were all going through this very traumatic experience.
Yeah.
And I think the play is asking us to like just reflect on that. Yeah, like we can all be a little kinder to each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is sometimes it's not an easy thing to do, right? When you know what I mean? Like when you have, your own specific opinions and ideas about one thing, and someone who believes in the opposite thing. It's just, how do you coexist? And I think Brandon is asking us to try, can we get back to humanity?
Yeah.
Right? Can we? Yeah. Like, what
Absolutely.
would that look like? How can we do that? Yeah.
And especially in this moment too, like, it's so interesting that the piece is set in 2023.
Yeah, it's and he I think he wrote it in 2020. I think 2022. 2022.
Yeah, it's fall in the year of our Lord 2022.
Yeah, there we go.
but it's still like we're still in pandemic mode. You know?
Yeah.
For us, theaters are still have COVID recommendations if they're not restrictions by that time.
That's right. Including rehearsal processes too.
Yes, absolutely. And everything was so much more elevated. Like, you couldn't just go outside. You had to go outside and think for a second. You had to go into a store and think for a second. You had to go to a show and think for a second. And so, and now, and then thinking about going to a reunion in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
It's like reconnecting with these people that some people you were really connected to, some people you maybe hope not to see, or just hope that you'll be better and older and wiser about seeing them. And so on. But then you have this air of the pandemic and you're like, I don't know if I want to put myself at risk in these spaces with some people that I may have, may bring up some old drama with.
That's right. Yeah. And I think for Christina, I think she wants to go back, right? Like she needs to or is hoping to remind herself of who she was back then, and hoping that this reunion will take her there. I think. Yeah.
That's what's also weighing on your mind about it. It's not just an event to go to. It's a return to the past. And if you think about just going home to see family for holidays and dinners, there is a part of you that sort of retreats to the you that you used to be.
Sure.
And maybe out of just comfort, this space makes you feel warm and safe, and now you're back in that mindset. Or the fact that even though your life has moved on, but your family has a hard time seeing the new you, and is constantly trying to return to the you maybe before you left for college or before you got married
right
or
on.
so on.
Yeah.
It's always so interesting. Like, you don't realize how much psychology is in the choices that we make.
Sure.
And just deciding to go to a reunion says so much.
Yeah.
What were the so let's go back to DC. What were those
Yeah.
conversations like in the room there? What was it like to rehearse this show at Woolly Mammoth, knowing that you're bringing it home to Philly?
Yeah. Working at Woolly was such a great experience. And the DC theater community is vibrant and exciting. And it was really great to play the show out there first, and so we couldn't wait to bring it home to Philly. But DC, DC, it is literally like it's the nation's capital. So it is so like there's just politics all around surrounding the theater. You know what I mean? And we were there while the election, like before the election happened, and so it was, I think it's a little different energy. And after the results of the election, it's definitely influenced some of the work that we're doing on the piece. But DC was great. DC, the configuration of their stage is really different, and so we had to make some adjustments. Like the death monologues were very different in DC. We were exploring with like different personalities for death. So mine in particular was like a playful kind of youthful spirit that ended up running around the whole house, like the whole auditorium. Yeah. Completely different vibe than what we have now. But yeah. DC.
Well, there is some entering into the space.
There is still. Yeah, you're right. That's true. There is still some that.
So we were talking about rehearsing in the space and how this the stage structure, the setup was different because of the uniqueness of their stage.
Yeah.
And so that's the part. I think people don't really think about that when you're like, okay, so you're just doing it in Woolly Mammoth,
right?
Like, you just move here and then you do the show as normal. You have to reconfigure for Wilma's stage and make all that happen.
Yeah,
so
and audiences too. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Audiences too, though, because the audiences in DC are responding and reacting to different moments in the play and in different ways than the Philadelphia audience too. So even with that, like we were doing a run through of the play during rehearsal, and Morgan like gave such a great note. She said, "All right, like I see you holding for laughs, or like you're used to what the show was in DC. We don't know how Philadelphia is going to react, so we need to kind of refresh all of that." Which was such a great note to give, because it's two different cities, and they're responding to it in very different ways, which is so exciting, and something that I've never done before. I've never toured a show. So this co-production is kind of like a little taste in that, I guess. But it's so exciting to have lived with the script for as long as we have, and to be able to play it in two different cities. And it's two completely different experiences.
Yeah. Well, it's been interesting, the beginning of our theater season so far. All of the choices that were made for the stage at this time were figured out before the election.
Yeah.
And so it's been interesting. The conversations that I've had this season so far have been about, like, what was your thought process when you added it to the season, and how did that change, as you're opening after the election?
Yeah.
And it's been so interesting because, as you're saying, sitting at Woolly Mammoth, which is right in the seat of government, the country's seat of government,
Yeah.
And then just producing theater in DC. Like, it must be, like, I'd love to talk to theater artists in DC about, like, how do you produce, like, political, engaging, like, conversational, confrontational
Right.
theater in the very seat where, you know,
Yeah. And I think their
the energy
audiences,
is so fueled.
yeah, their audiences are ready to engage and have those conversations. Yeah, yeah. In ways that I feel like Philadelphia, I'm not sure. I'm not sure, you know, which is interesting, which is interesting. Yeah.
I feel like, you know, there's a lot of participation in a show, but sometimes I'm surprised when I see a show where no one is responding, like, or it doesn't appear that anyone's responding because they're just taking it all in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then at the end, there's like a resounding applause, often a standing ovation. Like, I feel like Philadelphia is kind of reserved. It's like, no, we're professional theater goers. Yeah, we will give you your space before we give you your praise.
Sure, right on. And also, like, with the conversations, like the engagement with the piece as the piece is happening, they're so you said reserved is what you said. Is such a great word, because also, right, like, you don't know who you're sitting next to. You don't know if they're like-minded, which is like a beautiful thing about the theater, that we hope, you know, like, we're bringing in all different types of people to come and experience this you know, experience something similar, right? But right, I don't know then afterwards if there's a willingness to actually butt heads and talk with the people who do, like, have opposing opinions and thoughts and takeaways from the play. And I think in DC, audiences were kind of ready for that. It's interesting.
Well, I do like that, you know, with the renovations of the lobby, that Wilma has, you know, encouraged that continuing conversation. You know, as you're walking out of the theater, there's spaces for you to sit and enjoy. There's cafe out there, and
we do cafe chats
people to
too.
Yes, absolutely, and allows for them to unpack it more, because I always say, like, it doesn't matter that you read a review or you heard an interview; those are just parts of the conversation. They're just supporting the overall experience, and so you still have to go. It doesn't matter if the review says I didn't like it, or they have a thing about it. You know, you still want to go and say, let me see if I pick up on those things. Or like, oh, I see what they were talking about, but I think you just have to, you know, look at it differently, or what have you. But I love seeing a show, first of all, with a +1, definitely, talking to them on the way home, talking to somebody about it the next day at work, and just really, like, my thought process is evolving as I'm telling more people about it.
That's right.
And, you know, and I hope they're seeing that and saying, you know what, I gotta go be a part of this. He has a lot to say about it. And
absolutely. Absolutely. And we've had actually someone right before yesterday's performance, I was in the lobby in the cafe, and there was an audience member who came up to me and said he saw the show on Saturday and he loved it so much. And he invited his son and his son's partner to come watch it. So he came twice and brought his son to watch the show, which is really exciting and incredible to hear. It's you know, I think going to see theater, everyone should go see theater, right? But it is an effort to go out, to buy the ticket, to sit in a dark room for 2+ hours, and engage with this material that's happening right in front of you. But to then be so moved to come and see it again and invite more people to come see it is incredible. And again, it's like the play is just so good. The play is just so good. Brandon's writing is really exciting.
Yeah. And so the piece is 2 hours and 20 minutes with no intermission. Now, I know that there are moments where the cast can take a breather, there's always some way, how do I write them off stage and so on.
Mm-hmm.
But the audience is there for 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And they know that they can get up and go to the bathroom if they need to, but I don't think anybody moved. I think everybody was very much there. There's something about it, because when you're at a movie theater, you see a movie that's 2.5 hours long. I think you can sit through it because you went to the bathroom before and you don't really think about it. You're just like, I've never seen this, and so I don't want to miss a scene.
Right.
I'm gonna have to wait until it goes out, till it becomes out of streaming to pick up on that.
Right.
And I think we feel that way in theater too. But I know that I think everybody had a moment where they were just gonna like, oh, my. What am I gonna do?
Right.
But
Yeah.
I'm saying that the performances, the time just flies by. There were so many people that said, I didn't want to look at my watch, and I'm glad I didn't. It's just like these things, like we forget that we go into the theater, and the reason the theater feels like a beautiful, warm, cozy cave is because we're trying to shut out the world while we tell this story, while we escape into this moment. And then you can walk out into those bright lights and everything and bring the rest of the world back in after you do that. And so I love the fact that the piece has no intermission, because we are in it. We're in this box with the cast as well.
Yeah. Right on.
I also like how Simon sets this whole thing up, and then Simon can't attend.
Yep.
And so Simon traps them all in a box too.
Yeah.
It's like we came here for this moment, and the guy that coordinated this for us isn't even going to be here. So now we're just voluntarily staying.
Yeah. Absolutely,
even through all those tough moments.
Yeah.
Even through all those tough moments and revelations, they're still in it.
That's right.
There's just so much to love about this piece. I love Emilio's energy. I love how he's like frustrated in one moment, but then back into the old ways in the other. The various games that you all have as friends. When those kind of reintroduce themselves, they sort of diffuse, those moments, and then you just kind of get back into that. And there's a moment in the piece where he says, I don't know why all this hit me the way it did. Like I didn't want, this isn't how I wanted to feel right now, and so on. And it's just interesting when you get into these spaces, like the memories flood in.
Yep. Yeah.
And
you can't help it. You can't help it. That's right.
What has here and in DC, you've had the opportunity to kind of meet some of the audience. What was sort of the feedback? What did they say?
Yeah. Everyone who's spoken with me, they just really, the piece really resonated with them. The things that and the moments that Brandon addresses, people start to reflect and think about what they were doing in those sort of unprecedented times that Brandon lists throughout the play. They're reminded of their high school selves, and the ways in which they hoped and dreamed their lives would be like. And so I think the people that I've spoken with in both DC and Philly, they're all kind of experiencing their own comeuppance in watching these characters experience theirs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So did you have a high school crew? And if so, are you still connected?
Sure. I had like a few different ones, so maybe I could call myself a floater. But I had like a couple of different groups, and there are 3 people who I am still like connected with and still reach out to, and actually 2 of them are going to be coming to see the show,
Nice,
which is great. Yeah, they're all still in New York.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I don't have. I mean, I had a crew. I mean, I guess you can call it a crew. I had a group of friends that we would meet every morning for breakfast. We called ourselves a breakfast club.
Oh.
We met in the cafeteria and chatted over French toast sticks.
Yeah.
But now I'd say, besides social media, which allows me to just ping in on people, so I do appreciate that. But I have my best friend, one of my best friends who I went to grade school, middle school, high school with, ended up marrying my best friend that I met in college.
What?
And so that's kind of cool. My best friends, and I get to hang out with them a lot. So
that's great.
yeah, it's so interesting. Like I had reconnected with my friend from high school, and then I was living with my friend from college, and I said, "Hey, I was walking on Walnut Street, and I just ran across my friend I hadn't seen in like 8 years." And then I had mentioned him, and so my friend from college like looked him up on Facebook and started talking.
Wow.
And now they're married.
Wow.
I know, it's crazy.
Oh, that's
It's cool.
beautiful.
So when they got, I said, I'm pretty much responsible for
Yes,
this.
right. That's right. Wow.
Have you? I asked before we recorded. Have you gone to any of your high school reunions?
Yes, I went to my 10-year, and I'm about 3 years away from the 20th reunion, but I'm not sure. I don't know if it'll be organized or what. So I went to a small performing arts high school in New York, and so the 10-year, it wasn't the school who organized it. It was some students who organized it and like made a whole Facebook group and then event page to try to get people to come. But if there is a 20-year, I do not need to be there. I do not need to be there. No.
Yes. We didn't have a formal 10-year either. I did the same thing. I created a Facebook group, coordinated some people.
That's great.
It's funny. I wasn't on student government, and the other thing that's interesting is to find out where the student government people are at these moments, because they were the ones everybody's like, look at these people, folks.
Yeah.
This is what you want to strive to.
Right.
And it's always interesting because they do not continue on those paths. But yeah, it was like, because we grew up in South Jersey. So I said, like, why not come to Philly? There's like Franklin Square, or we can go to a bar, and like, it's a summer. So we were outside.
Yeah.
It was good. Like 12 people came.
Okay. Yeah.
And there was a whole lot of like drama revealed, like a whole bunch of rumors about people that we went to high school with.
Sure.
I was like, oh no, I can't believe I'm so detached from those things.
Right. Yeah,
but it was fun.
That's how I feel. Yeah, I'm detached, and I went with my best friend who I'm still in contact with from high school. We went together just out of curiosity, really. And it ended up being like a really nice time, and there was dancing and whatnot. Like we had a ball, and it was nice to just say hi and see how people were doing. People who maybe we're not necessarily close with, but familiar with. I mean, you saw these people every day for 4 years, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, at this point, I have no curiosity. That's cool if there are people who still gather. There was someone in one of the cafe chats that we just had yesterday after the show. This older woman who just went to her 60th high school reunion.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And
what are they still talking about?
Yeah. Right. But yeah, she said she went to the 10-year, and then no other years up until 60. She went to the 60th.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Just wild to think about. Yeah. 60 years.
So the production runs here through December 8th, and then there will be a moment of time where you can stream it. I believe, right?
Yeah.
Which is so good. So good that Wilma does that.
I know, I'm glad that they're still doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it allows you to return to it. I'm sure that a lot of people want that streaming option because it's 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And what you process at the end was, wow, what a ride.
Yeah.
But but unless you go get the book and read it, like I feel like you want to see it again. I think you should. Everyone
Yeah.
consider the streaming and just get back in the conversation again.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say also, and I don't know if this has been formally announced yet, but we will be extending. So there are going to be some more opportunities to see it. Yeah.
Yay.
Thank you.
You heard it here first. Oh, that's awesome. And I wasn't sure. I'm sure it's going to be successful enough to have an extension or just a successful streaming moment. But I think that's so great. That's so great. For one, keep working. Yes.
Yes. We love
Everybody gets to keep working. So that's great. But also we get to more time.
Absolutely. And it's even for shows that do really great, I feel like extensions are so rare nowadays. And so I'm super happy
or they're a gimmick.
Or that. There's that. Yep.
They tend to be a gimmick sometimes.
Yeah. So I'm so happy for the WOMA that we're able to extend this one. Yeah.
Absolutely. So you'll have some time to continue living in this space that Brandon Jacobs-Jenkins imagined.
And thanks to him. Thanks to him.
Yeah. Well, what do you think you'll take away from this production?
While I was working on it in DC, I was really struck by, so again, like the death monologues, when I first encountered them in the read, I couldn't quite get them. But then running the show and working on the show in DC, it made me think, oh, wow, like what he's saying is that life and death go hand in hand. Like death is present and all around us. And that's okay. Like that is a part of life as well. You kind of need both even, right? And so there's something really profoundly beautiful about that. And the acceptance of mortality and not just, like in different ways, right? Yeah. That can mean so many different things, and many different moments in your life, right? And so whether that is like physically or if there's just a moment of transition in your life that's happening, whatever that is, that it's nothing to be afraid of. Yeah. And that really struck me working in DC, and that's something that I'll continue to carry forward.
Yeah, I experienced a conversation recently that said something to the effect of if you're feeling lost or you can't find a way forward or just like you're consumed by a lot, that we should spend time thinking about our death and then working our way back to the present. Because you want to think about, like, when you leave this world, what would you like to have accomplished? What would you like to say you've done? What would you like to leave behind, and so on? And if you think about that, you are in a sense mapping out a path. Like, even if like, how will it end? And then you're going back and saying, like, well, how would I get there? Filling it up. If you know that that's your end goal, or at least, like in any story, there's a conflict. The character wants to get somewhere, and then there's obstacles that stand in the way. But then once they get there, they realize it was so much more than that.
Sure. Yes.
So it's the same thing. So if you're mapping out, like, how you would like, what if that was your end point, what would you like to say you have done or experienced in that moment? You might get to that moment and life isn't over yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, but you got there because you mapped it out and thinking, like, if this was my end, this is where I wanted to be. And now that you've accomplished that or reached that goal, now the possibilities are endless because you've already done everything that you set out to do, and now you get to reset. Yeah. And this is kind of a way of giving yourself a new lease on life.
Right on. And appreciating each moment and appreciating that journey which is so great, Darnell. Like, I think literally you said something that reminded me of this poem, Ithaca by Constantine Cavafy. And it's a poem that Blanca Ziska from the Wilma introduced us to in an early house session. And it's a poem that sticks with me. And I read it to my students, actually, because it's literally about that. Like, there is an endpoint and a goal, right? That's what he's speaking about. But there is an endpoint, and we're on this journey to that place. But even with all of the the terrible things you might encounter on that way, it might be a really difficult journey, but take your time to appreciate the stops along the way, because that's where the value is. Not once you get to that end point. Enjoy the value in the journey to get there. And so, yeah, it's such a beautiful poem, but what you just said reminded me of it. And I think that's absolutely right.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I could talk to you forever, but giving the time frame and where we are in the world at this time, I'm going to give you some time back for the day.
Thank you.
But
thank you.
I want to thank you. Thank you for taking the time to chat with me and to unpack the comeuppance and its journey from woolly mammoth in DC to Philadelphia here at the Wilma. I think that's such a great co-production collaboration.
Yeah.
It's just exciting to know that Wilma is putting us on the map in a way by just extending the talents of Hot House, out to other companies like Woolly Mammoth, which I think is so great. But you guys did a stellar performance of the comeuppance. You heard it here. It's extended. There will be streaming option too. Like, bring a friend, because theater is more fun with a +1.
Yeah, I love it.
Taysha Marie Canales, thank you so much.
Thank you
for taking the time to chat with me.
Yeah,
and thank you very much for embodying the role of Christina. Christina, not Katrina. My notes were all wrong. But enjoy the rest of the run, and thank you so much again for chatting with me. It was truly a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to our guests, Taysha Marie Canales, for joining us on today's podcast. The Broad Street Review podcast is an Emory production. If you would like to be a guest on the podcast, visit us online at em3ry.com. Get involved with Broad Street Review. Head on over to our website at www.broadstreetreview.com and click Get Involved at the top. While you're there, help keep us running and click Donate to find out how. There you can also find our social media links. Thank you for your part in keeping the conversation going.